I'm Yuriko, and I am back. Yeah, it's been a while. I moved countries. I didn't have equipment, so on and so forth. Explained that a little bit better in the last video, but now I'm here, and got a composition to show you. So this is the first composition that I've done in about a month, give or take a little bit. But yeah, so I just wanted to sort of talk about some of the things that I did. I'm actually really happy with it. Um, and yeah, so let's just get right into it. Okay, so here we are. This is the track. So I'm going to play it first and then I'll talk a little bit. Okay, so apologies for the CPU clipping. Normally, because I just loaded this up, you'd load it up, play it through, but I forgot to do that, so sorry about that. But yeah, you heard the song, you heard the piece, so let's get into it. So the first thing to talk about is what the piece is about. So the piece is about, it's for a video game. It's for ideally a series, which we'll talk about in a sec, and it's kind of about like Finnish folklore. So it is folklore, which means fantasy, and Finnish folklore is kind of similar to Vikings. It's not exactly the same. Obviously, Finland had Vikings, but the folklore is a little different, happened a little earlier and stuff than like Norse mythology, for example. Okay, so how do we do that? Fantasy, I think, is pretty clear. Fantasy is often orchestral. You can do it with an actual orchestra. It's normally not synths and hybrid effects or guitars or something, right? Like it normally is an actual real life orchestra. So using those real instruments, lots of strings and stuff, kind of brings that fantasy-esque feel into it. The big symphonic orchestra with, that sort of stuff. Woodwinds, I love. I think woodwinds always make it sound fantasy. If you can use something that's not a standard woodwind, like the tin whistle here or the shakuhachi or something, yeah, it can just bring that a little bit of extra depth in there. Then we go back to that Viking sort of sound. Yeah, tin whistle's pretty obvious. The icy strings a little bit. Those are icy strings, for example, are the Albion Tundra ones, where it sounds, and I can solo it. So that's all they really do. They just introduce the piece, but you can hear there how it is. Sounds kind of icy, which can remind you of the cold, and therefore Finland. Basically, it does introduce the piece though. It's not like you see these really ever again until the outro, like little whatever, you know. It's mainly there, brings you in the mood. Once you're in the mood, you can kind of do whatever you want. So that's kind of what I've done there, along with bringing you into the mood and other things. We've got, where are they here? The dulcimer. Obviously very Finnish. Here we've got another dulcimer, well, the same dulcimer, but it's actually struck this time, and you can hear how now it really brings out that Icelandic, whatever kind of Viking like. Yeah, got Celtic harp here. Again, it's not actually the nicest harp, but it does sound. It's got a bit more of that Viking feel to it. And then, anyway, still sticking with the intro, of course, fantasy, a mark tree. Great. So that's kind of how it starts. We go. Obviously, we introduce the piece with the tin whistle, as we said again, trying to really get you in the mood of what you're expecting. Because once you initiate, like, once the mind clicks into, oh, we're in this sort of style, you can kind of take it any way you want. And of course, as you can see there, black hole is on that. Great. So the last thing I want to talk about is you're not using actual instruments, right? So if you look here, the solo cello. I've gotten a cello. It's the Tina Guo cello, and it's played at the very highest of its range, so high that I had to actually take it down a few semitones and then pitch it up. Like if we look here, this is in C, but the actual key is in E. So pitching it up, obviously 4 to that one. But if we hear it alone, it sounds kind of like a this instrument. I can't remember what it's called, which is obviously very typical in that Viking era. Like I think they actually made it. I don't know if they used it or whatever, but again, you don't have to And I'm going to do a full video on my composer tips for the month, the ones that I've collected.